What's up, everybody? It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Tyler Perry's Netflix drama series Beauty in Black, Season 1, Episode 7, Even Playing Field, and Episode 8, Killing Karma. Now, the synopsis for Episode 7 reads Norman is seeking answers regarding Ina's hit and run. Calvin and Jillian help Mallory with Roy's opioid addiction when he arrives madly aggressive at the Beauty in Black headquarters. Fed up with Roy, Mallory takes matters into her own hands as Norman digs for the truth. A familiar face comes into focus. Kimmy and Angel make moves. Now, the synopsis for episode 8 reads Kimmy and Angel find blood on their hands during a botched robbery. Mallory is caught in a compromising position due to Roy's unfortunate mishap at the Bellary mansion. Schemes and secrets come full circle as Horace connects the dots behind the robbery. Mallory asserts her dominance and Kimmy hits her breaking point. Wow, and she really does. What a way to have a season finale ending. I tell you, that was real good. I was with Kimmy for that whole ending. Anywho, before we get started, if you're new here or if you're returning and have not subscribed to this channel as of yet, please take a moment right now. Subscribe to the channel for the new year. Help assist this channel grow. Then I ask that you hit that notification bell so they'll let you know every time I upload any new content to this channel. Then I ask you to smash that like button, which is the thumbs up button, write a comment and join the conversation and share because y'all all know sharing is caring. Anywho, this episode starts off with Norman going to that tow yard trying to find answers about how his wife's body was found there. And the man that was there saying he doesn't know much. He said, but they killed his brother too and they made him clean up everything. So he was pissed. So he thought Norman was the police, but Norman said he wasn't. And he told him, I don't know anything. And he gave whatever information he did. But Norman seemed to see a picture behind the guy. And he was standing by that yellow car that looked like Charles's car, to be honest. And he asked that guy, was that his brother in the picture? And he said yes. So Norman left. But it seemed like something came into his mind when he looked at that picture. So next we have the scene where Roy comes into the Beauty in Black offices, drunk as a skunk. And Mallory sees him. She goes into his office and tells him to go home. He look all disheveled and everything. He looks bad. And they get into an argument. And he was like, this is my company. I run ish around here. You can't tell me what to do and all this stuff. He called her itch. She slapped him, said, do it again. He grabbed her by the neck, pushed her down in the chair. Then Calvin comes in there and standing there like it's his business instead of letting this couple fight their stuff out. Roy tells him to get out. He doesn't leave. Mallory tells him to get out. He's like, Mallory, are you okay? Mallory, are you okay? And Roy's like, that's his Miss Bellary to you, okay? And he's right. He ain't have no right to be calling her. He think because he ate her coochie, now he get to call her by her first name. Like, really, Calvin? Stay in your lane, boy. Anyway, he wouldn't leave. And, Roy was up in his face and all this stuff. And then he acted like he was walking away and turned around and tried to act like he's going to punch him. And Calvin moved and Roy hit the floor. And then he was trying to help Roy up, but Roy didn't want his help. Roy got up by himself and said, you know what? He said, I'm going to go home or something like that. He said, I got Jillian. Jillian will take me home. So Calvin says, Jillian, can you make sure he gets home? And she's like, of course I can. But why are you acting like you telling her what to do? She's Mallory's assistant, not yours. You're Mallory's driver, But he was being so disrespectful. Both husband and wife told him to get out and he didn't move. He just stood there like he has a right to stand there. I don't get what's going on in Calvin's mind, but he better lay back. So they left and Mallory just looked at him and she walked past him and went out to her office. So now we have this scene where Varney is coming home to his and Charles' little love nest. That's got to be a private love nest because we seen Charles' apartment and Varney made a comment about he'll be home waiting. So I'm assuming he has another place that he lives. And Charles is laying on the bed and Varney apologizes because they had an argument. And then they both are saying that they love each other. But Charles want to go out. Charles wants Varney to be out and loud and proud. but he's like, he belongs to the good old boys. He has this business now, and they don't want to hear it. He said, even Charles, your own father, if he knew I was gay or something, he wouldn't want to be dealing with me. And the Bellarys are one of his biggest clients. You know what I mean? So he reminds Charles, you've had money all your life. I haven't. I worked hard to get this. And now I'm at a point where I could pay all my bills, and not worry. And, Charles don't seem to care. Yeah, you tell me that over and over again. This is how spoiled he is. He probably never had to work a day in his life. They're spoiled little kids, him and Roy with the drugs, and they're ridiculous. And that's why their father, Horace, can't stand them. And their mother babies them and protects them. She needs to make them, they probably ain't had a callus on their big toe or anything. You know what I mean? So Charles wants to go out and he asks Barney, can he go out? And Barney finally said yes. He said he was going to a bisexual strip club or something like that. So Barney's like, yeah, I might want to go there too. But he's like, no, you don't. But anyway, so Charles leaves and Barney tells him to call me when you get there or something like that when you get home. Yeah, I will. He said, be careful. Yeah, I will. But as we see later on, he was not careful. So now we see Kimmy and Angel coming into work. Angel goes into the male locker room, and one of the dancers come up to him and asks him, what's the plan? What you want to do? And the Angel's telling him to be, cool with telling, talking in front of other people and stuff. So obviously Angel needs him because the guy got a car, and Angel's car got busted up by his girlfriend. So the guy also said he got his boys that he can have them hold the man while they rob him and stuff. He said, you sure that's all you need them to do is hold him? He said, yeah, that's it. And he said, you said I could get 30,000. He said, yeah. He said, it's gonna be that easy. He said, yeah, but be careful because it could go wrong. Just stick to the plan or whatever it is. Then in the female locker room, you got Body messing with Kimmy all the time. And she kept saying, I got this new biatch coming in. She only 16 years old. And I can't wait till you meet her. She kept saying to Kimmy. And Kimmy was like, isn't that illegal? And they all started laughing. She said, all this ish is illegal. But she said, oh, somebody gonna have to show her the ropes. I can't wait till you see my new girl that comes in. And she kept saying it. I was like, well, dang, why she keep bothering Kimmy about it? So Kimmy's like, okay, fine. So Kimmy was leaving out. She said, you better make a whole lot of money tonight to keep me off your behind. And she said, I got it. And she went out. So now back at the Beauty and Black offices, we see Jillian going over there to confront Calvin. And I'm sitting there going, what is she doing back already? I thought she was supposed to take Roy home, unless she took him home already or she put him in an Uber or something like that. But she confronts him and says, so now you protecting her and everything. And she's mad at him. And he's like, that's my job as Mallory's security and driver. And so she's pissed at him about this because he's supposed to be her man. But he's like, he not her man anymore because she decided she wanted to sleep with the boss. But she never slept with him. But then he slept with Mallory, though. I was sitting there going, you playing tit for tat. You're being petty. I don't know what this is all about between Jilly and Calvin, but it's ridiculous, I tell you. So she's letting him know that Mallory don't care about him, and he's letting her know that Roy don't care about her. And I'm like, oh boy, they so petty. Anyway, Mallory calls Jillian into her office and tells her that she could go home. And she's like, I don't mind waiting. She said, why are you always challenging me? What's wrong with you? Go home. So she's like, fine. And she went home and she said, Calvin. Now she had on her jacket all this time. Now she took it off. So she's sleeveless and, some tight little bodysuit on or something she had on. I don't know. And Calvin comes in there and she starts talking to him. And Calvin started playing the game like he knows all this stuff about her now because Jillian said, you used me to find out all about her and now you turned it on me. I don't know what Calvin's game is, but he was not listening to Mallory. Mallory was trying to put him in check and he just ignored her. And she told him he's arrogant. And she told him never to get in between her and her husband again. And he was like, if he gets aggressive like that and violent, and she's like, he was not. He did not do that. He said, well, whatever that is he did, it's my job to protect you. She asked him how he got the job. She didn't even realize that he got it through Jules. And she said, oh, the common denominator. He would hire an arrogant person like you. And so she's like, if you think you still have a job, you don't. And so he's doing all this talking, saying, look, did I F you good yesterday? And she kept saying, you call me Miss Bellary, not Mallory. He said, Mallory, I'll call you Mallory in private, but in public, I'll call you Miss Bellary. You know, he was just saying what he going to do or what he not going to do and stuff. And she was very upset, but he called her card. He pulled her card and said, "You wanted me alone last night, and I see you want me alone now." And she said, what makes you think you could talk to me like that? He said, because you want me to. He said, your husband's going to be away. So why don't you invite me up into your bedroom so I could show you what I could do with a little bit more space in a bed. I was like, oh my God. She's like, you're disgusting. You're vulgar. You're this. She doing all that stuff. Meanwhile, she's still sitting there taking it from him. So now we see Horace showing up at the club, and of course, he's looking for Kimmy, but he's in his car driving around, and they talking about they got drive-through sex now. They have drive-through sex. He said $500 he could get the works, and Horace is like, what? And he's like, yeah, you don't even got to get out your car. They'll come in to you or something like that. He said, I want Kimmy. He said, you want Kimmy? Like, why you want her? But the reason Horace don't want to go in because he sees his son's car. That's Charles is in there. So Horace goes and finds a parking space. And while he's trying to find parking, you see people having sex on the hood of the car, on the trunk of the car, on top of the car, inside of the car. You got men and men, women and women, women and men, everything going on. And he's like, damn, like looking. So he goes and parks the car, and the guy goes inside to give Body the money and say that they want Kimmy to come out. Meanwhile, inside the club, Charles been watching Salvo, which was the guy who was talking to Angel earlier, who's supposed to do that robbery with him. And Charles wants him to come home with him. And they working out the logistics about money and stuff. He said, can't we go in VIP? He said, can't go in VIP, men are not allowed and all this stuff. Meet me in the back stall in the men's room or something like that. So he asked him, did he have any candy? I guess that's Coke, right? And he said, lots of it. And so they went in the bathroom, and Salvo, I guess, took a hit of that Coke. And next thing you know, he was grabbing Charles and roughhousing him in the bathroom. And Charles was like, what the F you doing? And fighting him off and stuff like that. He said, I thought that's what you wanted. He said, no, I don't want it like that. So Charles told him he wants him to come back to his house and asked him what time he gets off. He said 2 a.m. He said, okay, cool. Put your number in my phone and I'll text you the address. So now we see Belinda telling Kimmy that the old guy is here for her again. And she's going to VIP. She said, not there. He's out back. She's like, out back. So she goes out back. But before she goes out there, she stops and tells Angel he's here. We're on. So Angel's like, okay. And he kind of like follows her out the door. But I'm like, why? He never came all the way out back. But while that was going on, Body was watching him. So she knows something was up. She didn't know what, but she was watching. So when Kimmy gets in the car with him, he tells her that he wants to see Angel later at someplace else. Here's the address and here's the keys. She's like, is this your house? He said, yeah. So he said, oh yeah, I know you got to get paid. So here's money. And she's like, thank you. I do have to get paid. He said, if you get this kind of money, why do you live in that little hotel? She said, you could give me all the money in your bank account. It'll still come back to you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you'd be a little bit more grateful after all I've done for you. All you've done for me. He said, yeah. And she's like, you know what? You're right. Thank you. And she got this attitude. And he's like, what's wrong with you? And she was like, why do you keep saying that? You don't even know me. So how you know something's wrong with me? He said, you know what? I don't know you. But see, he's going by how she was when he first met her, and she was really nice and everything to him. But now that she thinks that he's the boss, because of Jules, and she sees the pictures with them together in the house, which is making her think that Horace knows what's going on. So she goes inside and gives Delinda the money. Body standing there they like, damn, he gave you all that money and stuff. So Kimmy goes in the back and tells Angel what Horace said, and they move forward with their plans to rob him. So now we have this quick scene where Norman is calling Jules back, wanting to know what does he want. He said, Alan said you needed a cleanup team. He said, Alan took care of it. So why didn't you call me? He said, I can't trust you. He said, yes, you can. We're in business together. He said, no, I can't. You're in my brother's pocket. He said, oh, come on with that. You don't believe that. He said, F you, and hung up. So now we have this quick little nasty elevator scene between Mallory and Calvin. And he had the nerve to tell Mallory that he's tired of her attitude and how she could be a real B at sometimes. He thought if he gave her a little D, she'd be much nicer to him. And she slapped him and said, "How dare you talk to me like that?" And he pushed her up against the wall, stopped the elevator, and proceeded to taking off his jacket and her coat, lifting her dress up from behind and opening his pants and hitting that thing. He hit it, and she was moaning and groaning all up in that elevator. I hope they ain't got no cameras up in there. Then we have this scene where the club is closed and we see Charles passed out on the bar and they waking him up, telling him he gotta go, it's closed. And he realizes that his cell phone, his watch, and his gold chain are missing. And he starts to put up a fuss, but they have security throw his butt out, kicking and screaming. So now Kimmy and Angel arrive at Horace's house. He tells Kimmy she could wait downstairs. He and Angel go upstairs. And Angel pours some bourbon for him. And he's texting a lot. And Horace is like, "Who are you texting?" He said, "My baby's mama." And he keeps texting. He texts like 2 or 3 different times. And he said, "I see you want a drink tonight." And when I tell you Angel downed that glass of bourbon, he downed it real quick. So you see he's nervous. He don't want to take off his clothes yet or anything like that. Meanwhile, Kimmy downstairs waiting, and she gets a call from Rain. She's like, "What the what?" And she ends up talking to Rain on the phone and find out that Horace moved Rain to this nice hospital with a nice room and everything. And Kimmy's like, "They told me you were dead." She said, "I'm not dead. I'm alive." She said, "When you gonna come and see me?" And at that moment, the security screen on a iPad or something lights up, and Kimmy sees these guys coming into the house with knives or something like that, or guns, and she runs up the stairs going, "Oh, no, 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 no," and she runs up the stairs. Meanwhile, on a private road, you see a yellow Lambo coming down that street, and all of a sudden, guys are shooting at that car. Pa, 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 pa. And then it blows up and flies up in the air. And that's how it ended. So, of course, they want us to think that Charles is in that Lambo, but I have a feeling it was Salvo. And not only that, I think that Norman's behind it. He thinks that Charles is the one who killed his wife, so he had his men shooting up that car to kill him. And you know what the sad part is? The fact that Norman thinks Roy and Charles did it, when in reality it's the person that he least expects would do it, Mallory. So that's the way this episode ended. Y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about it. Now I'm going to do the recap and review of episode 8. And it starts off with Kimmy running upstairs, asking him if there's another way to get out of the house. "I got to get you out of here." He's like, "What? Did you set me up?" And she's like, "You got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. Where's Angel?" "In the bathroom." All of a sudden, these guys come busting in there with 4 guys with guns. And they're like, "Get on the floor." They throw all of them down on the floor, talking about, "Where the money? Where the money?" So Horace tells him it's underneath the bed, and he has to open the safe. He opens the safe, and he's on the floor coughing and gagging and everything. And he climbs up in an armchair. And while they're not looking, he pulls out this automatic weapon and it's like, and killed all 4 of them guys. Then he points the gun at Kimmy and asks what's going on. He told her to start talking, but then Angel jumped in and said it was my fault. I wanted to rob you. And he's like, "Well, you just went along with the plan." He said to Kimmy, she said, "I was mad at you about Rain." He said, "After all I did for you." She said, "I didn't know you moved her to another hospital. I didn't know." She should have said, "I just found out. So he still didn't understand what was going on, though. And they finally broke it down between Angel and Kimmy. They told them everything they knew about Jules and the judge that got them off for all the different crimes and that they're indebted to him. So they kept saying, "You're Jules' boss," which means you're our boss. And he was like, "What?" He didn't even know that Jules was doing all of this stuff. But he told them, "Everything is about money with y'all. Why don't you just take the money?" He kept telling them, "Go ahead and take it." They was like, "No, I don't want it. I don't want it now," or something like that. He said, "Yeah, because I'm about to blow your head off." And then all of a sudden, a cell phone rang out of one of the guy's pockets. So Harvest told Angel to answer it and put it on speaker. And the guy said, "Is it done?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, meet me at the warehouse." He said, "Okay, bet," and hung up. So Horace is like, "Where's this warehouse?" He said, "I don't know. I don't have no idea. Nobody was supposed to get hurt. All we supposed to do is rob you, and that was it." So That's when Horace just said, y'all don't know me, you never met me, you never been here. Get out. And so they bounced. So now we have this scene where Calvin walks into Mallory's bathroom while she's lotioning up, being very forward with her. And she's trying to act like she don't like what's happening and told him this was going to be his last day. And she walks out the bathroom and walks down the hallway to her bedroom. She don't close her door. She leaves it wide open so he could follow her. And she was like, why do you think you know me? He's like, look, I've been driving you around for 2 years. I know everything about you. She's like, that's creepy. And he said, we did it in the car. We did it in the elevator. Now let's do it in your bed. And he jumped on her bed and she was like, get out of my bed. He's like, too late. And then he came off her bed and got down on his knees and was about to eat her punani when his phone started vibrating, and it was Jules saying that he needs him to come there. And so Mallory told him to go and never come back there. He said, I'm going to come back every chance I get. So she whispered in his ear, I'm deadly and I'll shoot you in the back of the head if you betray me. And then she kissed him on the side of his face and he said, I love it. He said, you crazy about me already? Look at that. And then he left and she didn't say a word. So now we see Roy in the SUV. The driver's supposed to be taking him home, but he decides to call that attorney and tell her he want to meet her tonight at the Moxie. So she agrees to meet him. He tells the driver to take him there, but to stop at the liquor store first. He gets out of the car throwing up and stuff, and then have the nerve to tell the driver to go into the store and get him some more gin. The driver was saying he had enough, and he said, don't F him, police me, Igga. So the driver goes inside and he calls Jules to let him know what's going on. At that same time, Roy jumps into the driver's seat and takes off with the SUV. And the driver's like, oh man, and he's telling Jules what's going on. Jules is pissed. So Jules calls Mallory and says, look, I can't do all of this by myself. I need to deal with your husband. And so he gave her the information that the driver gave him. So now we see Kimmy and Angel in the car, and he's driving and driving. He's like, we got to go. We got to get out of here. And she's like, you need to relax. How are you so calm? You saw he killed everybody. And she's trying to tell him, I don't think he knew. He looked surprised what's going on. He let us go. And he's like, oh, so Jules could kill us. She's like, no, I don't think Jules knows about this. And he's like, no, we got to go. We got to go. She's like, could you relax? You got my anxiety going up. So then Rain calls her. She said, you won't come see me? I know you're not working now. She's like, now is not a good time. She said, come on, come now. She said, is it visiting hours? She said, this hospital's different. All you have to do is say you hear from me and they'll let you right up. So, of course, she said, okay, I'm going to come there now. And Angel is so against it. She said, just go to the hospital. So they get to the hospital and the nurse says this Rain is one of their VIPs. And so she takes Kimmy and Angel to her room. Kimmy runs over and hugs her, and Angel sits in a chair. And Rain is like, is that Angel? He's like, yeah, hey, Kimmy. The thing is, all three of them, I think, got caught on that plane together when Jules came on there and was a police officer and got them off. So you think he would be a little bit more warm knowing that, he knows her. And so he just kept shaking that foot and everything. And he was all nervous because he ain't never seen nobody get shot before. And Kimmy's like, damn, we in Chicago. You ain't never seen that before? But Kimmy and Rain were talking and they trying to catch up a little bit. And Angel was like, we got to go. We got to go. And she was like, I want to stay. He's like, Kimmy, we got to go. So he all nervous about what happened, and Rain is like, obviously something done went down or y'all got something going on. She said, but go ahead and go, because she noticed the blood on Angel's shoe as well. So they leave promising that they'll come back tomorrow. Meanwhile, over at Horace's other house, we see Jules and Calvin coming there. Horace doesn't tell Jules the whole truth, but he tells him he needs him to clean this stuff up. So Jules asked whose house it is. He said, well, this is one of the places I come to get my needs satisfied. He said, well, will we have to worry about the lady whose house this is? And he said, no. For some reason, I feel like Jules was trying to bait him to find out if he gay or not or something, the way he kept saying, you sure about this woman or whatever. But Horace is like, no, that's not a problem. So Jules goes into the wallet and finds a business card in one of the criminals' wallets. And he said, the Be Safe Company. He said, did you order a safe? He said, yeah. You had it delivered here? Yeah. He said, these fools tried to rob you. So it wasn't Kimmy and Angel's guys. This was the safe company who sent somebody to rob them. Because, see, they had automatic weapons and all of that stuff. And Angel's guys wasn't supposed to have all that. So I think Horace is realizing he made a mistake. Or just might be glad that he didn't kill Kimmy and Angel. So Jules told Horace he was going to handle that. And Horace told him, I want you to do the cleanup first. So he got up and was about to go home and then asked Jules about Harold Collins it is. He said he and his brother used to go to school with him. He asked, is he still on the bench? And he said, I think so. He said, are you in touch with him often? He said, not really. Why do you ask? He said, I think I want to set up a time and have dinner with him. And Jules said, okay, sir. And then Horace left. So now we see Lena and Roy at the Moxie. He's trying to get her to have a drink, but she doesn't want to drink. She just wants water. He's like, don't let me drink alone. So she has a white wine. And he's like, what questions you have for me? And she asks him, how long has his company known that the relaxers cause cancer? And he said 12. She said 12 years. He said 12 inches. So he was being an idiot, a a-hole, whatever you want to call. And while he was being a pain in the butt and she didn't want to deal with him because he was talking about she need to drop the lawsuit because he can offer her some incentives. And she said, are you trying to bribe me? And he was like, no, talking about come work for our company. Our lawyers are terrible. You could be great. You have a job for you. He's doing all this talking. All of a sudden, here comes Mallory. She comes in, sits down, and tells him he needs to go home. And they start arguing back and forth. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, Lena. I forgot to introduce you to the Roy and Mallory show. She comes in, barks orders at me, tells me what to do, and it gets on my effing nerves. So Roy is adamant that he's not going to go home. She said, okay, you're not going to go home? She puts in something on her cell phone. All of a sudden, you hear these little alarm. Ding, 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 ding. Everybody in the restaurant gets up and leaves. And so Mallory said, now you going to leave, Roy? And he's like, no. She did something else on her phone, and then his phone vibrated. And he had a message that said, Roy, we're here to take you home. Please come to your vehicle. And she told him there are 3 men waiting out there. Don't make them come in. And so then Roy said he will go home. Then it was just Mallory and Lena left there. And Lena was cool the whole time. She just sat there and she was very impressed by what Mallory did. So then Mallory tells Lena that Roy can't be trusted, but she can. And then she offers her a job. And she laughed. She said, was this rehearsed or something? Because he just offered me a job as well. And Mallory was like, oh, really? She can't believe it, between the white lines and the brown liquor. You know what I mean? So Lena tells her she can't be bought. She said, you want to bet? She said, it's not about the money. And she said, yeah, that's what broke people say. It's not about the money when it's all about the money. So now we see Horace at home. He hears a fire engine outside. He sends his butler out there to find out what's happening on the private road. And then he calls Harold and tells him he'd like to meet with him at 6 a.m. in the morning. And Harold's like, that's in a few hours. He said, is it a problem? He said, no, it's not a problem. It must be important if you're calling now. He said, yeah, I need to talk to you. So Horace is putting it together, this whole thing with him and Jules. He gonna figure it out some kind of way. And he might try to help Kimmy and Angel. And honestly, that would be so cool. They could get their lives back and move on. So now we have Mallory and Roy in a car heading home, and they're arguing back and forth, and she's threatening him to call his father and let him know that he was talking to that lawyer. And he's like, you wouldn't dare. And he took her phone from her, and they fighting, tussling in the back, and he realizes she don't have on no underwear. And he's like, where's your underwear? Look at Mallory and her hot self. She knew she was going to go and try to run into Calvin, I bet. So Roy is telling her, I've known you damn near all your life, and you ain't never forgot to put on no daggone underwear. So he knows something is up. And so the driver pulls over because of the fire trucks. And Mallory gets out to find out what's going on. And he said there's been an accident. And she sees Charles's car. And he said, do you recognize the car? She said, yeah, it's my brother-in-law's. He said, well, she said, is there a body in there? He said, we're trying to find out now, or something like that. And so she calls Horace and tells him she needs him to come to the private road. He's like, what's going on? She said, it's not good. I need you to come here. So he heads that way. Meanwhile, we see Angel and Kimmy showing up to the hotel, and who's standing in front of her room but Buddy and Delinda. And so Angel and his crazy self think they're there to kill him, and Kimmy's like, no, they're not. Just relax. So they walk over there, and Buddy wants to know where they've been. So she said they went out to eat. And Buddy said, you just trying to take my place. And she said, no, I'm not. I don't want to take your place. She said, yes, you do. She said, you're going to have to learn. You white, you're going to have to learn. Next thing you know, Delinda drives up with a minivan, and the side door opens, and Kimmy's little sister's in there. And she was like, oh my God. She kept saying she's 16, and that's how old Kimmy's sister is. And so I'm wondering to myself, did they talk to Kimmy's mother first, or did they just snatch her sister up and take her? And when Kimmy sees her little sister Sylvie, she's like, "Oh no, no!" She said, "Body, no." She said, "Oh, your little sister gonna make me a lot of effing money." And she's like, "No." And honey, Kimmy gets to her breaking point, and she goes off. She grabs Body by her hair and bangs her head up against the car and almost knocks her down. And Body gets loose and throws her down on the ground and starts punching her and punching her. And then she pulls out a knife on her and says, "If you touch me again, I'll kill you." And Angel's trying to stop Body, and Body's like, "Get away from me," swinging at him. And then Kimmy get in a car, and Body starts screaming, "I'm gonna tell Jules about both of y'all. Y'all both dead, and your sister's dead too." And Kimmy drives that car right into Body. Bam! Right in, and she was behind another car, and she rammed it in her twice, and she stuck between the two cars. And I was like, oh my God. And that's just how the season finale ended, y'all. So y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about this episode as well. And I will see you all in the next video. It's your girl Barbie J saying, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Peace.